What if Chris Froome never crashed in 2019? What if the gust of wind in Rouen never hit? And what if he never shattered his femur during that recon ride before stage 4 of the Dauphiné? Today on Cycling Theory, we explore a world where Froome never fell, and instead continued his career. 2019, the Tour de France, the day that the mountains collapsed. Froome never misses the 2019 Tour. He returns from a strong Dauphiné finish, ready to fight for yellow once more. There's a sense of tension between Geraint Thomas and Chris Froome, but there's no question that Egan Bernal is there to support his leaders. Alaphilippe captures the public's heart, especially of the French, by taking the yellow jersey and winning a stunning time trial on stage 13. And Thibaut Pinot is lighting up the mountains, showing the form that is worthy of a Tour de France champion. But then comes stage 19. July the 26th, 2019. The race explodes on the climb, and Bernal attacks halfway up the Liseran. And from a spectator's point of view, it all seems like Ineos's plan. And as the young Colombian attacks, Alaphilippe is starting to lose contact. Suffering, Steven Kruijswijk, Geraint Thomas, and a steady Chris Froome watch as Bernal opens up a gap. Looking behind him, Froome sees no sign of Julien and decides that now is the time to bridge across. He couldn't leave it to chance. He wants to show early that he is the leader, despite being only 30 seconds behind Geraint Thomas, his teammate on GC. As Froome winds up the pace, spinning like a washing machine on a spin cycle, nobody is able to follow. He pushes on and reaches Bernal and Yates. For 5 minutes they ride alone. Froome starts to feel the effort catching up with him, and reasons that it's probably best to save his legs for the final climb. Behind him, Yates marks the two Ineos riders, patiently following. And then the storm starts. Hail, flooding and mud. The descent is cancelled. The stage is neutralised on the top of the Liseran. Now the GC is frozen and the time gaps are measured from the top of the mountain. And Froome is in the yellow jersey now by half a minute over Geraint Thomas, and Bernal is just a matter of 10 seconds behind Froome. And then the next day, with great respect, Egan Bernal rides for Froome on stage 20 to Val Thorens, protecting both Froome and Thomas. And then a huge attack comes from Steven Kruijswijk, and Froome himself closes the gap. G, not wanting to close down to his own teammate, swings to the side, forcing Buckman to come through and fight for a spot on the podium. Froome notices the politics going on behind, and then senses a weakness in the non-commitment of Kruijswijk, and so he decides to launch his own attack, the first solo mountain move that he makes of this tour. And then meanwhile, just 40 seconds up the road, Vincenzo Nibali is all alone, fighting to stay away to win the stage. And now Froome's attack looks good at first, but the gap to Nibali starts to stabilise at around 25 seconds. He looks behind and then sees Bora Hansgrohe jerseys leading the chase behind, just 20 seconds down the mountain from where he is. And so Froome's attack is starting to look like a failure, but he just won't give up. He wants to cross that line ahead of the group. The meters slowly pass by, and eventually Nibali takes the stage. But then all of a sudden, an attacking Alejandro Valverde sweeps past Froome at the last minute, followed by Mikel Landa. Froome claws his way to the line just ahead of Bernal and Thomas, not even pausing to celebrate, nor even realising that two of his teammates are just behind him at the line. He comes to an absolutely exhausted stop after having given everything he had to take a historic 5th Tour de France. Amazingly, Ineos pull off a full podium sweep, with Froome, Bernal and Thomas all on that podium, much to the disgust of the French. And then in Paris he celebrates his 5th Tour de France title, but despite the resounding success of the team's tour, he still has this nagging doubt in the back of his mind. What if Egan was stronger, and what if he could have actually won it if he didn't have to support him? And what if that stage 19 that ended early actually went all the way to teams? Would Froome have actually been able to hold on all the way? But nobody knew what was to come. The world was about to change. The 2020 Tour. It's a delayed season and COVID has reshaped the entire calendar that year. But Froome is back as defending champion of the Tour de France. He's now 35 years old, riding still with Ineos for yet another season. But his legs are starting to age, and yet another wrinkle appears on his forehead. And now, an especially strong Primož Roglic is dominating this Tour. Froome just simply is unable to follow the punishing pace of the Slovenian. Instead, he holds on alongside his former teammates Richie Porte and Mikel Landa, fighting for a spot on that podium. At the same time, though, a young 21-year-old Tadej Pogacar, the winner of 3 Vuelta stages in the year before, was just coming out of nowhere. He becomes the only rider who could follow Roglic on his punishing moves. And then Bernal cracks, shaking his head in disappointment, despite putting down more watts than he did the year before, which nearly won him the Tour. It now is just nowhere near enough to keep up with Roglic and Pogacar. Stage 17, Col de la Loze. It's Froome's kind of climb. It's high and punishing, with brutal gradients. But this time, he cracks. Pogacar launches with 4 kilometres to go, and Roglic hangs. Froome is isolated and loses nearly a minute. It's not a full collapse, but a sign of what's to come. And on the stage that changed cycling forever, the stage 20 time trial up La Planche de Belfi, Pogacar snatches yellow from Roglic in the most heartbreaking plot twist since 1989. And Froome, he finished all the way down in 9th, losing almost 5 minutes to debutant Tour de France champion Tadej Pogacar. The message is clear. A new generation has arrived. The 2021 Tour, a farewell to Ineos. It's 2021, and Froome has stayed for 1 more year with Ineos. He refuses to step aside just yet. But this Tour, it's Pogacar's playground. Stage 8, Le Grand Bernard. It's torrential rain. Pogacar attacks up the Colombière like a madman. Everyone cracks, including Froome. And then by the Pyrenees, Froome steadies. He's not a contender, but he's not a passenger either. He finishes 7th overall on GC. Later on, the rumours prove true. Chris Froome is indeed leaving Ineos. He signs with Israel Premier Tech, not as a retiree, but as a hunter, looking to win a 6th Tour de France. 2022, the return of Chris Froome. They said he was done, and they said that he was only there for the retirement money, despite a rocky start which saw him lose time in the first week, mainly due to a lack of support and the fact that he just didn't have the legs yet. On stage 12 of Alpe d'Huez, Froome bridges to the breakaway with an impressive attack, and he descends like a demon, and is joined by Tom Pidcock. After exchanging attacks, the breakaway is thinned down to just Froome and Pidcock halfway up the Alpe d'Huez. Despite several attempts by Froome to distance the cyclocross champion, he's stuck with Pidcock on his wheel. Then, with 300 metres to go, Pidcock shoots out from Froome's draft like a bullet, putting 20 seconds into him in just 5. Chris Froome isn't seen again until after the fact, hauling himself over the finish line, accepting a huge second-place result behind his fellow countryman Pidcock. And in the end, Froome holds on to an impressive 15th place finish on GC, as Tadej Pogacar, Jonas Vingegaard and Geraint Thomas round out the podium for the 2022 Tour de France. 2024 Tour de France, the last stand. It's now 2024, and Froome is 39 years old. In 2023, he crashed out early. Now back 2 years on from his last tour where he almost won on Alpe d'Huez, he's written off by every analyst. Even his own team doubts what he can do. But something's notably different this year with Froome. He's leaner, if that's even possible, and his training is more monk-like than ever. He has just one goal, just one more finish on the podium at the Tour de France. As the stages go by, Froome seems to be riding with a new pair of legs. He's responsive to all attacks, and he's even able to follow Primož Roglic, Remco Evenepoel and Jonas Vingegaard. But there's absolutely no way that he can keep up with Pogacar. No one can. Despite Pogacar's dominance, Froome is holding on to 4th place as the final week begins. Then comes stage 17, a pivotal moment on the Col de la Loze once more. Remco, Vingegaard tried to follow Pogacar's attack initially, but to no avail at all. Spinning away just a handful of seconds behind them, a gritty and undeterred Chris Froome works to close the gap. He then catches the wheel of Remco and holds the pace for yet another 10 minutes. And Vingegaard starts to swing, struggling to drop the two on his wheel. He looks behind and then goes to the left of the road. Remco follows, looking behind him to see Chris Froome bobbing away. He thinks to himself, why is there an old man on my wheel? The thought terrifies him, so he launches an attack with power that he just doesn't have. Remco is then closed down just seconds after by Froome himself. The Belgian looks behind to see the spider-armed Chris Froome doing the unthinkable. He can't see the Dane. It's just clear road. Remco turns his head the other way, and there he sees Vingegaard is distanced. He's gripping his handlebars in discomfort, pushing a harder cadence than he was before. He's clearly struggling. It's now just Remco and Froome left to chase for Pogacar. Kilometre passes by kilometre, and he stays planted on the Belgian's wheel. Eventually Remco gets tired of it, and then he starts to soft pedal, gesturing at Froome to help out. Reluctantly though, Froome pulls through and keeps the cadence above 90. As they both pass the Flamme Rouge, Remco then starts to feel the heat get into him. He shifts his gear to make it a bit easier, but he just can't get that power back up. The pain is excruciating. Then he realises half a metre, and now he realises that Chris Froome is dropping him. It's just not worth it to Remco to blow up completely at this point with just a few hundred metres left. He lets Froome go, and Froome continues, not even realising he's just dropped Remco even pole, until he turns around in the closing metres. There, to his surprise, there's no one there behind him other than a camera bike. That realisation makes him push even harder, his power meter going from 450 watts to over 500 as he jumps out of the saddle to take as much time on Remco as possible. It's all about the podium now for Froome as the sweat drenches off him. Then at last he crosses the line, but unsure of where that leaves him on the GC. On the 21st of July 2024, Froome steps onto the podium of the Champs-Élysées with Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogacar for company. He did it. He was once again a Tour de France podium finisher. But what do you think? Do you think Froome could have really won another yellow jersey in 2019? Could he have actually fended off Bernal that year and in the years that followed, Evenepoel and even Vingegaard, even though it was only just once? Or do you think the slowing effects of age catch up with him regardless? Let us know in the comments, and if you love reimagining cycling history, subscribe for more episodes of Cycling Theory. This video is brought to you by VeloPro Racer, an immersive road cycling simulator that puts you in the race. You can play with or without a smart trainer, and it's completely free. Check it out today at veloproracer.com.